You need to hear this if you're a true crime fan. This is a story that will send chills down your spine and make you question the safety of even the most peaceful places. In a quiet town, a chilling mystery lingers, a place where everyone knows each other and the streets are lined with trees and friendly faces, but beneath this serene surface, a dark secret festers. Who killed Emily Carter? This question has haunted the residents of this small town for years, casting a shadow over their lives. Emily Carter, a vibrant 28-year-old teacher, was the heart of her community. She was more than just an educator. She was a mentor, a friend, and a beacon of hope for many. Known for her dedication to her students, she was well loved and respected. Her passion for teaching was evident in everything she did, from organizing school events to staying late to help a struggling student. But on a cold night in 2020, her light was extinguished. The town was plunged into darkness, both literally and metaphorically, as news of her death spread. Friends grew worried when she didn't show up for a planned dinner. Emily was always punctual, and her absence was immediately noticed. They called her repeatedly, but there was no answer. They called the police, and what officers found was a scene of horror: Emily's lifeless body in her apartment. The once warm and inviting space was now a cold and eerie crime scene. It was clear foul play was involved. The brutality of the crime shocked even the most seasoned detectives, who vowed to bring her killer to justice. Detectives quickly launched an investigation, diving into Emily's life. They sifted through her personal belongings, looking for any clues that might lead them to her killer. Friends, family, and co-workers were interviewed, revealing a tangled web of relationships. Each person had their own story to tell, and each story added a new layer to the mystery. Suspicion initially fell on her ex-boyfriend, recently out of a tumultuous relationship with Emily. Their breakup had been messy, and many believed he had a motive for murder. But he had an alibi. On the night of the murder, he was seen at a local bar, surrounded by friends who vouched for his whereabouts. The plot thickened when a colleague with an unsettling interest in her also surfaced as a potential suspect. This colleague had always admired Emily from afar, and his behavior had often made her uncomfortable. Months dragged on with no solid leads until a crucial piece of evidence emerged. The case seemed to be at a standstill, and the community grew restless, desperate for answers. A security camera captured a shadowy figure near Emily's apartment on the night of the murder. The footage was grainy, but it was the first real lead the detectives had. Despite extensive efforts, the identity of this figure remains unknown. The detectives analyzed the footage frame by frame, but the shadowy figure remained elusive. Emily's case remains open, her family tirelessly advocating for justice. They hold vigils, hoping to keep her memory alive and to remind the community that her killer is still out there. Community rallies and online campaigns keep her story alive, but one haunting question persists. Who was the shadow in the night? The town remains on edge, knowing that a killer walks among them. As we seek answers, Emily's story stands as a stark reminder of life's fragility and the mysteries that remain unsolved. Her death has left a void in the community, one that can never be filled. The headlines screamed of tragedy, painting a picture of a life cut short. Beloved teacher found dead, community in mourning. Who killed Emily Carter? These were the questions that dominated the news cycle, each article delving deeper into the mystery. Her friends and family were devastated. In interviews, they spoke of Emily's kindness, her love for teaching, and her dreams for the future. They couldn't understand why anyone would want to harm her. The police held press conferences, urging anyone with information to come forward. They assured the public that they were doing everything in their power to solve the case. But the lack of leads was frustrating. Forensic teams combed through her apartment, collecting evidence. Every piece of evidence was meticulously catalogued, but nothing seemed to point directly to the killer. The investigation spread out across the town. Detectives mapped out Emily's last known movements, trying to piece together her final hours. They interviewed neighbors, checked security cameras, and followed up on every tip. The community was deeply involved. Town meetings were held to discuss the case, and everyone had their own theories. Some believed it was a crime of passion, while others thought it was a random act of violence. Detectives worked around the clock. They reviewed case files, re-interviewed witnesses, and followed up on new leads. The case consumed their lives, but they were determined to find justice for Emily. A memorial service was held in her honor. Friends, family, and students gathered to share their memories of Emily. They spoke of her infectious smile, her dedication to her students, and her love for life. Candlelight vigils became a regular occurrence. The community came together to remember Emily and to demand justice. They held candles and photos, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the flames. Online campaigns were launched to keep her story alive. Hashtags like #JusticeForEmily and #WhoKilledEmilyCarter trended on social media as people from all over the world joined the call for justice. The case board in the detective's office was filled with photos, notes, and timelines. It was a visual representation of the complexity of the case, each piece of evidence a potential clue. Emily's family visited her grave regularly. They placed flowers and spoke to her, hoping that she could hear them. They promised to never give up on finding her killer. One day, a phone call came in that could change everything. A new witness had come forward, claiming to have seen something on the night of the murder. The detectives listened intently, their hearts racing with hope. The witness was brought in for questioning. They described seeing a figure near Emily's apartment, someone who didn't belong there. The description was vague, but it was a new lead. A sketch artist was brought in to create a composite of the suspect. The detectives watched as the image took shape, hoping that it would lead them to the killer. The composite sketch was shown to the public in a press conference. The police urged anyone who recognized the person to come forward. The community held its breath, waiting for a breakthrough. Tips started to pour in. The detectives followed up on each one, hoping that one of them would lead to the killer. The investigation gained new momentum, and the community's hope was rekindled. Then a crucial piece of evidence was found. It was something that had been overlooked before, but now it seemed to hold the key to solving the case. The detectives felt a renewed sense of determination. An arrest was finally made. The suspect was someone who had been on the detectives' radar, but had never been a primary suspect. The community was shocked, but also relieved that the killer had been caught. The trial was a tense affair. The prosecution laid out their case, presenting the evidence that had been painstakingly gathered. The defense tried to cast doubt, but the evidence was overwhelming. The verdict was read and the courtroom erupted in emotion. The killer was found guilty, and justice was finally served. Emily's family wept with relief, knowing that her killer would pay for their crime. The community celebrated the verdict. There was a sense of closure, but also a lingering sadness. Emily was gone and nothing could bring her back, but at least her killer was behind bars. A memorial plaque was placed in the school where Emily had taught. People came to pay their respects, leaving flowers and notes. Her legacy lived on in the hearts of those who knew her. Her family and friends continued to remember her, sharing stories and keeping her memory alive. They spoke of her kindness, her passion, and the impact she had on their lives. The community began to move forward, but they never forgot Emily. Her story was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of justice. They vowed to always remember her and to keep fighting for those who had been wronged. As the sun set over the town, there was a sense of peace. The shadows of the past had been confronted, and while the pain of loss remained, there was also hope for the future. Emily's light had been extinguished, but her spirit continued to shine brightly in the hearts of those who loved her.